The rigors of the general election was indeed a very intense one, but thankfully everything is winding down, so to speak, because by May 29th, Nigeria will hold the inauguration of the next president, and hopefully he would hit the ground running. But right now, there is some sort of shift in the way things are being run politically right now, as we have a lot of interest clashing at the National Assembly and even beyond the National Assembly. The tussle for the 10th National Assembly leadership continues to deepen with various different groups within the APC, that's the All Progressives Congress, demanding a good leverage for inclusion and fairness. Key variables, according to a lot of political analysts, would determine who the next leader of the 10th Assembly on both cadres would be. For instance, people are beginning to talk about the place of religion and political relevance, as well as zoning arrangement, which they say could largely play a major role in determining who becomes the Senate president, especially in this case. Despite the assumptions on this subject matter, the APC National Working Committee says it hasn't taken a stance yet on what would be the determining factors for choosing the next leader of the 10th Assembly. And of course, we have about 8 senators already in the race right now. We have Senator Jibrin Barau from Kano Central. We have Sani Musa from Niger East. We have Senator Ojo Zakalu from Abia North, Godswill Akpabio from Akwa Ibom Northwest, Ahmad Lawan from Yobe North, among others. This seems to be some of the frontliners in the race right now. This morning, we'll talk about some of the variables that could determine the emergence of the next leadership of the 10th National Assembly and whether or not the All Progressives Congress should risk installing a Muslim leadership at the 10th Assembly. All of these things we'll talk about. My name is Olabisi Olani Oluwasegun. Good morning, and this is a public square. In the studio with me this morning, I have Comrade Gani Mohammed Ajowa. It's good to have you.
Good morning, Elvis.
Yes, and hopefully would have Barrister Ajishafe join us in the course of the program. Hopefully it will join us. We'll also try to speak with the member of the House of Representatives elect in Ilajeso, the federal constituency. That's Mr. Donald Ojogo, on what he thinks about this issue. Now let's start with the way permutations have been going on within the APC, some of the factors that Nigerians, stakeholders, key players in the political arena are beginning to talk about that could, determine who becomes the National Assembly. You are a politician and you've been in the game for a long time. What do you think could shape the emergence or the race to the leadership of the 10th National Assembly?
Yeah, particularly you seem to be narrowing to the President of the Senate of the Federal Republic, or if then we will be going to the other offices in the National Assembly. To start with, the president-elect is from the Southwest. Essentially, the Senate president or the president of the Senate, has been described officially, should not come from the Southwest. That is outside of it. From any other geopolitical zones, or at the remaining 5, the Senate president could come from there. It depends on the mood. It depends on the circumstance of the party. It depends on, number one, the ruling party, that is the party in government, first and foremost, we want to establish stability
Within the party.
within the party. That's the stability for the government, because you cannot go to the government and put unfriendly in quotes a person or power in the position of the president of the Senate. We are all living witnesses to the experience of President Buhari in the force during between 2015
with the emergence of
Bukola Saraki.
Okay.
They came from the same party, essentially. I mean, traditionally, but Saraki was an effective opposition leader in the House to the government. Thereafter, Buhari, as much as we want to believe that it's not political or he is not so savvy when it comes to political permutation, still went for a Senate president he believes who shares his aspiration about leadership. And you know, the president-elect or the president is, in our system here in Nigeria, is so powerful when it comes to determining who leads the legislative arm. Even in some instances, they do believe, take for instance at the state level, people believe that the speakers are usually a hand-picked vessel by the governor. That may not be the essential situation at the National Assembly, because the Senate presidency is so large, is so big, it's an institution. And the power brokers, who in some instances are bigger than the president in the system, will be interested in. Having said that, some people will want to discuss the fate of who will emerge as the Senate president. Perhaps they will want to say we already have a Muslim ticket, we are looking at maybe there should be a Christian Senate president. This is a personal opinion now. If our religions, our faiths have an impact, particularly a positive impact on our governance in Nigeria, Nigeria will have been a better place. Religion is just a tool in the hands of the political gladiators or politicians who choose what will favor them, what will enhance their chances. For instance, it is during the election that you know that somebody is a Muslim or Muslim ticket, as we had during the last campaign leading to the election of the president-elect, Senator Bola Tinubu. They told us that he brought a running mate who is a Muslim, that on no account should he become whatever. You will discover that the government, maybe the people who will be the power behind the throne, may be people of other faith. Once a government is formed, forget about your religion. They have no regard for any faith, either you are a Muslim or a Christian. That is my personal opinion. That's my personal observation. During the PDP regime, we talk of so much huge sleaze, those people who stole so much. When you look at the configuration of the list of both those who stole the money, they did steal it on religious or faith pattern. You see one Muslim, one Christian, one Muslim, one Christian stole the money. He kept it in the bank of a Muslim. The Muslim stole the money. He kept it in it passed through a Christian. This thing does not help Nigeria. It has no impact. The essential impact it has is deceit, is to brainwash us, to let us think that this person is of my faith. And at the end of the day, those individuals, they help themselves. They say he's a Yoruba president, he is an Hausa president or Fulani president or whatever. You discover that how much do they impact the tribe they come from? What they do is their friends, cronies, and some people who will further their political interests in future. That is how the patronages come. the deputy Senate president, I mean the man who is facing charges in the US, or I mean the UK, Senator Ekweremadu, former deputy Senate president. Dr. Ekweremadu, the greatest enemy he had were from the Igbo people when he was there. You remember when he was assaulted in a yam festival, Igbo yam festival somewhere in Germany. The people who assaulted him physically were his people. He was still the Senate president at that particular time. That's to tell you that they don't serve either their tribe or serve their community. Even when they tell you that the current regime is people by the Fulanis, you discover that it is an individual interest, the friends of the president or somebody who has one contact or the other. It is individual thing. It does not serve the corporate interest of the institution people view them from. Yes, you discover now that they say Tinubu was the greatest resistance he had, particularly from Lagos, of which is the primary base was because of his faith. You discover that that one is not even a proper Muslim in quote. They would not see, it's not. Because a Muslim would be expected to have Muslim children, Muslim wife and whatever. His children are Christian. Is the wife a Christian, a pastor? You see the issue.
Even though we understand that religion in politics really does not have a significant role, what really binds politicians together is interest, we understand.
Yeah.
But don't you think the APC would be putting itself in a sort of precarious situation with the Muslim ticket without having to consider or identify with the sentiment of Nigerians? Because already there are insinuations that the APC would likely Islamize the country with it's Muslim presidency.
We had it during, they called Buhari fundamentalist and Islamic fundamentalist. He did not succeed to Islamize Nigeria or reduce Nigeria to one faith nation. And I don't see it coming irrespective of the fate of whoever emerges as the Senate president. But essentially, you people in the media, you enhance this sentiment. When the politicians come up with these sentiments, the media assist them to when we all know, be it media or be ordinary citizens on the street, we know that these people don't serve this interest. We must deconstruct the minds of our citizens to understand that those people who come to public space to preach faith, to attain office, are deceit. They are scammers. We should discontinue that. We should look at some other issues. When you are talking about, when anybody brings about the fate of who will become the Senate president, I discontinue it. What I think people should hammer on is, because that one you can't take it away, is the tribal thing. Though politicians use it to, extract votes, and it's valid. I don't have issue with anybody who is tribalist about politics, because you are a politician because you come from a particular constituency. You enjoy your place in the National Assembly because you are from a particular constituency, and that constituency happens to be your tribe. If you are going from a larger Seldo to go to National Assembly, you are not expected to go there and make case for an Hausa man in Kano, because somebody is already representing them. If we be the one that will bring that agenda to board, your primary concern for the man who is going to represent Akure, South Akure, not at the National Assembly, has a responsibility towards his constituents, which are people of Akure South, Akure North. The primary so you can go to National Assembly, you can whip up sentiment that it should come to our side because this and that. Like Ojuzo Kalu is asking to be given the president of Senate of Federal Republic. Good. He is preaching that that will cement the relationship, I mean, bring about unity of Nigeria. We already have a Yoruba president. We already have a northern vice president. So the Senate president should come from the southeast. Valid. I buy into that. But in the party, its own limitation in the party is that you will recall that Ojiuzo Kalu did not attend any of the presidential rally of APC in all the 5 states of the southeast. You will recall that if
but he kept parading himself as a pro Tinubu during the campaign on all media outfits that
he got to a stage before that started. He made it open. He addressed press conference where he said few days to the primary that he was comfortable with the presidency to go back to the north if they didn't cede it to the southeast. He was not contesting for president, but he was insisting that if they didn't bring the presidency to southeast, that he would prefer the thing to remain in the north, despite the agitation by everybody from every stakeholder from the southern Nigeria that the presidency must come to the south. The governors, the legislators, the KBAZs, all of them, they agree that this thing, it is a turn for a northern president for 8 years, President Buhari, that this thing should come to the south. In fact, they've used it openly against the running mate of Atiku, Senator Okowa, that you are part of this arrangement. In fact, you hosted your brother governors at a time that the presidency must come to the southern part of the country. Why are you now encouraging somebody from the north? You will see from the Bada pattern the result of the presidential candidate from the north. I doubt if he won any, except maybe in Osun, where he won in entire south central Nigeria. And the reason is simply why he won Osun is not the vote they gave him in Osun was not given to Atiku, was to take away from Ashwaju, who they believe that once Ashwaju becomes the president, they would take back, because they have a case in court. And Oyetola, who is challenging them, is political son of Ashwaju, that you know how we reason in Nigeria that a president can always breathe down the Nass of the court so that they could do it. And they put everything to read that this is what we could do. Let us vote massively for Atiku so that he could emerge, so that we could retain our seat as governor of Osun. And that was the motivating. So outside of that, you see that Atiku did not do well in the southern Nigeria on the strength of that. If a southerner was now telling you that instead of that, because the thing would not come to his area, as a result, the presidency should go back to that north. And during the campaign, if he pretended, I insist, that he was part of Ashwaju's arrangement, that he was supporter of Ashwaju, he did not allow that to manifest physically, because there was a rally in Abia, in his home state. He didn't attend. He didn't attend rally in Ebonyi. He didn't attend rally in Enugu. He didn't attend rally in Anambra. He didn't attend rally in Imo State.
In other words, you think he played lip service?
He said he was asked, and he told the journalist that he would not attend, or he did not attend those things on personal grounds. And that did not end there. On the day of election, you will recall that the presidential election and the senatorial election came together. In fact, they will give you the ballot paper of the president and ballot paper of the Senate to a single voter. At the election, the same in his own senatorial district, Ashwaju scored 6,635 votes. 6,635 votes. Less than 10,000 votes in the same election. The same Ojiuzo Kalu scored 47,000. It is obvious. He had his own supporters. His supporters came out and voted 47,000. Remember, Ojiuzo Kalu was the governor for 8 years. He's not just a senatorial candidate, a returning chief whip of the Senate.
So for
when he was currently, apart from the one he won now, he had been chief whip. That means he was a returning officer before. I mean, returning senator before. So he had been in that Senate for more than 8 years, essentially, and he was governor for 8 years in that state. He was able to garner 6,000 votes. How are you sure it was the one who worked that 6,000? Why he got 47? When you look at this, you tend to ask this question: will this candidate be reliable as Senate president to the same president? Will it believe in the policy and the programs of this policy? Will it not be bringing sectional interest to the office of the president of Senate of Nigeria? Remember, the Senate can make or mar a government. If the president has the loftiest ideas and the interest, and the Senate is not comfortable with that, it won't go anywhere. It becomes essential. That leads us to the fact that any party who wants synergy, any party who wants, any party that is going to form government or that is in government, that wants synergy, that wants results, that wants to deliver in good time, must be selective and choosy about who becomes the Senate president. You don't just leave it and let it happen. You don't do that you don't pursue inclusiveness at expense of a policy, because we have elected a president for Nigeria, not a southern president, and this position is established. You tend to gauge people by what he says when he was comfortable. Oji Uzokalu said he will not support a regime.
Do you think his position during the electioneering campaign could pose some sort of problem for? Is it a spoiler for his chances now?
Sure, I feel strongly, because he has equal, if not greater, rival from South South geopolitical zone
Senator
of Nigeria.
Akpabio.
Senator
Well,
Akpabio.
there are rumors that he might likely drop his ambition. Well, we do not have, it's not substantiated yet, but that's the rumor we have. What if he does?
That is another leg. But let me tell you another thing. When you look at the result of that election, we are discussing party now. When you look at the result of election geopolitically, the zone that gave Ashwaju Tinubu the greatest vote,
Northwest,
is the Northwest.
Yeah.
Northwest has 7 states. If they come to the National Assembly and insist that they want the president of Senate, and you appeal to them, and they are their reason, they have demographic strength.
Okay, we have member-elects in the House of Representatives, Mr. Donald Ojogo, right here on the program. We're going to be speaking to him via telephone. Is all the way out there in Abuja. Good morning, and thank you for joining us, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
All right, we're discussing the race for the leadership of the 10th National Assembly, which thankfully you will be part of, and we're looking at some of the factors that could shape up, how this decision is eventually arrived at. As one who would be part of the system and a politician at that, what would be your position on this?
Well, my position will be with specific reference to where I particularly belong to, because as it is now, as a member-elect of the House of Representatives, I think I have been denied, naturally, I have denied myself the competence and the opportunity of discussing the National Assembly generally. I can only discuss the House of Reps. That is, even if time permits.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, because your question was not specific and it was not a direct question
What
on
what
which of the
what what
particular
I'm
thing that.
asking, the question was initially on the National Assembly, and you clarified that you may not be able to talk. You're a politician, even as an APC member. I think you should be able to have a position on this issue. This is a national issue, I suppose.
Well, with specific reference to the chambers, by the grace of God, I intend to go into in June. I think we are looking at a much more vibrant uh, House of Representatives. Particularly, it has been made possible by the caliber of persons who are coming on board. We've seen that at least those freshers that are newly elected, the category I belong to, we are about 222 out of 360. It then means that those old arms, the returnees, are less than 70. So the turnover has never been as massive as this. So what we will expect is a very high level of activism, political activism, on the part of those who are coming in. And again, I've looked at the age bracket of the return of the freshers that are coming in. The age bracket, you can't see anybody. Those above 60 are less than 20% of those who are coming on board. So that means that the next leadership that we will have in the National Assembly, particularly with reference to the House of Representatives, must be an experienced one, particularly the Speaker. When I say leadership, I'm talking about the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, the leader, the majority leader, the Chief Whip and all that. But with particular reference to this presiding officer, that is the Speaker. I think if we have the opportunity, we can't go for anything less than someone who has a high level of capacity, capability, and experience to be able to lead the House. Because not just experience being a member of the House, you can be a member of the House for 7 times without having the presiding experience. So we will have to go for someone who has a presiding experience. For me, I've not hidden my own take. I've not hidden the position I hold. I've not hidden where I belong to. I looked at all the aspirants and I have resolved with permission from my governor, approval from the leader of the party, that yes, I could go ahead and support Honorable Ahmed Idris Wasi. And that is the person I'm supporting.
From Plateau?
Yeah, from Plateau, from the North Central. And the reasons are these. One, Plateau State has not been Speaker since 1999. The last time Plateau State was Speaker was the tenure of one, I think it's been long. It starts to be around 1991 or 92. But since the inception of this present democracy we are suffering now, the North Central has not had the Speaker. And this is a man that got to the National Assembly in 2007 as a member of the defunct Action Congress, AC, when AC was the most unpopular, the most unthinkable political platform anybody could use. And that was a symbol of progressive politics in Nigeria, when Asuwaju and other eggs in politics, Nigerian politics, decided to put together the Action Congress after the demise of the then Alliance for Democracy. That was in 2007. From there, he returned to the House of Reps again, because he was a lone member as an ACN member from the North. He was a lone member. He was the deputy minority leader from there to ACN. He also, he was in the minority whip then, not deputy minority leader. But when Baja came in under the platform of ACN, he became the deputy minority leader to the current speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, under ACN then. That was in 2011. Then we now moved to 2015. When APC was vetted, he still became the deputy majority leader. From there, he got promoted to the position of deputy speaker. And mind you, he was struggling, he was almost becoming the speaker because he was shaking the table when he contested under APC against Baja. But when the party prevailed on him that he should step down, he did step down. And the party decided that, look, for your loyalty and for obeying the party and for playing the part of the party, that you should be the deputy speaker, which he is today. That is one. Apart from that, there is a man that is from Plateau.
But he's not the only man from Plateau. We also have Yusuf
Yeah, it's not the only one. It's not the only one from Plateau. Why I'm saying there is a man that is from Plateau is fundamental and significant to me.
Okay.
The reason is this: that Plateau State has never, since 1999, been a party, been a state outside PDP. You understand? I'm not talking about Wase alone. Anybody from Plateau who is struggling to say that, yes, I want to be speaker, or anybody from the North Central says, I want to be speaker, has every right. But I am particular about the individual that I've resolved to support. And I don't hide it. I would not, that's why I don't attend any other meeting. It might be politically naive, politically an unwise decision, but the moment I take my stand, I think I wouldn't want to double deal. I want everybody to know I belong to. So, as a person, it's not just an experienced person, it's somebody who has the capacity to even dispense experience. You can't take away his experience as a lawmaker. You can't take away his experience, one, as a minority lawmaker who gravitated to a majority lawmaker. He has been in governance at the state level, at the executive level. He has also been in governance at the federal level, legislating, and as a parliamentarian. So he has seen both the opposition of politics and the benefit of being in power as a party member. So that is where I belong. That does not repudiate the fact that those from Northwest who have, positioned themselves to be speaker do not have the right. They are always qualified, ever qualified person. For instance, there is one man from Katsina State, Tajudin Abbas, who has been a very loyal person, a PhD holder.
Is this all speakership position about loyalty?
Yeah, the speaker. The speaker. I think from what I have gathered, I've been here for some time. From what I have gathered, the speakership position is also very key. If you look at the leadership that Baga is exerting, on the outgoing Ninth Assembly, you will marvel. Do we now need to go anything lower than that? To go for anything lower than that? Well, it's not thinkable. Baga's leadership has really given the Ninth Assembly a very serious, a very commendable bite that people are really applauding. So why do we go for something less? That is just the issue. If you don't get the speakership right, there is nothing you can get right.
Okay.
If you don't, that is just it.
Okay.
So folks from Northwest, we've talked about, the last speaker was talking about the demographic advantage of the Northwest. Agreed. The Northwest is the in terms of politics, that is the voting bank of the country. Anybody who wants to win massively in any election in the North in area should have a very impressive performance or outing in the Northwest. And we all know that. But I want to remind Nigerians that using this medium, the Northwest had produced the speaker since 1999, 4 consecutive times.
Okay, Mr. Ojogo, before we let you go, I would still insist you talk about the Senate leadership as well, because the House of Representatives is an arm of the National Assembly, and you should be able to speak to it. Most especially, this is about your party and the workings of the National Assembly. What would be your take, without having to be too detailed or going into specifics? I understand you're trying to play safe, but what would be your take on the leadership of the Senate? How should it be run?
Well, the leadership of the Senate, I think common sense and just merely looking at it, I'm not talking as a member-elect now. If I were outside the same position, I would have held dearly to myself and to even tell people who care to listen. If we cannot contemplate or even envisage the Senate president coming from the North again, particularly another Muslim taking up the leadership of the Senate. That is the number 3 position.
Okay.
And I want to believe strongly that the party might also be looking in that direction. I read a report yesterday. I cannot confirm what reports are not policy statements from parties. But until the party comes on, a greater percentage of stakeholders is of the opinion that the next Senate president should come from the South. Whether it's going to come from, of course, Southwest is ruled out because we have the president from there. Whether it's going to come from it must come from the Southwest, South or Southeast. That depends on a particular policy direction that will be dictated by the party. So I am not in a position to say it must come from the Southeast or it must come from the South. Now that I am too involved, I think I am grossly incompetent to say it must come from a particular geopolitical zone. But common sense will dictate that it will no longer come from the North, that it has to come from the South.
All right. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time on the show this morning.
Thank you.
And I want to believe that congratulations are not late yet on
Not
your
late.
emergence as the member-elect representing Elijah Eldo.
Yes, until I spend the 4 years, congratulations will still suffice.
We wish
Thank
you all the best. Thank you.
And thank you so much.
So, eventually I was able to draw out some words from his mouth because he was trying not to go there.
Yeah.
But this is one of the popular sentiments that
I agree.
the narrative.
We mentioned it here that there is a popular narrative, the religious aspect of it. But one thing that matters, and which he subtly stated in course of this conversation, this telephone conversation, is the fact that he has a candidate who should come from the North Central Plateau State
As Speaker.
as Speaker of the House of Representatives, because he influences the consequence. They will determine the Senate before they determine who is a Speaker. And once the Speaker comes from a Senate President comes from any part of if Senate President should come from the North Central, you take Speaker out of it, and his equation, his support comes to nothing. The essential thing is that, like I earlier said, which he supported too by his position that the Northwest is a region you don't take for granted.
Politically.
You don't take them for granted. If you want stability in that house, you respect Northwest. If you want second term, you respect Northwest. They are more sophisticated. Let me say they are more sophisticated.
But the
in Nigeria.
outgoing Senate president is not from the Northwest. Could that be because
They have
the
the
president
president.
from the Northwest? Yeah.
You look at the history of this country. You just have to give them something serious. They will take something serious. Either the Senate President or the Speaker, and that Speaker, when we gave them Speaker, when Tambuwa was the Speaker, they were still...
By give them,
Yeah.
you give them.
Yeah.
Does these positions come on a platter of gold?
It is politics, BC. It is politics.
Because what the public is made to understand is these people are elected.
Yeah, they are elected to go there, but you can't be, it's a collegiate. To become Senate President, on the face value of it, is by collegiate election. You must go there and canvass for vote, your colleagues will vote for you. But I emphasize one thing, that tribalism, you want to call it, is a stronger pull than religion when it comes to that. Maybe religion has a way of mending and bending the tribal sentiment. But the fact is that Northwest, if you are a serious national player in Nigeria, Northwest must be your priority. He admitted, Ojogo mentioned it. Northwest has 7 states. That means they are coming with 21 senators. Nobody has that. Nobody has 21 senators.
You can easily
again.
influence.
Yeah. When
Decisions.
you have 21, coming with 21, the closest will be the 18. Is negotiating from position of strength. It's asking that I already have this. It's starting big. And I mentioned, and every player at national level or a watcher of national politics in Nigeria will tell you that the people of Northwest are the most sophisticated zone in Nigeria. They have their style. They go for it, and always it wins for them. Now, when they say Northwest, is interested in this. Why you cannot close the issue of speaker is that the Northwest is interested in the Senate. They want to produce the Senate president because they don't have vice president now. They don't have president. And these are people who do not settle for less.
When you say they do not settle for less, we understand the political relevance of the Northwest. But that does not, if truly the APC is about a unity government, a government that is inclusive, the South has to be also be part of the game.
I'm not making case for Northwest in this case, but I'm just being bare. South already has president. What is bigger than that? And you know, the executive, the president of Nigeria is executive. Is a law unto himself. Everything almost ends on his table. And when you have President Bola Tinubu, he was never a president.
President-elect.
No, I said when he was never a president-elect, he was never a president, he was not a governor. He was just ordinary citizen in Nigeria. The politics of Nigeria was still revolving around him. Now, this man now becomes the president. You can imagine, you know, this measure of influence.
How powerful that would make him.
This measure of influence was responsible for the quantum of opposition he had in becoming the candidate of the party. The question in the mouths of these power breakers in the party was simply that if you make this so much powerful person president, what will remain? Kilatunku. He was not a president. They even said this candidate must not be allowed to do something because their oga at home was too powerful. That was the thinking. And let me tell you this secret, you may not admit this. Politicians don't want a powerful governor, they don't want a powerful president. Politicians, the stakeholders want a governor they can manipulate, they can say, Mr. Governor, go and sit down there. That's not what we want to do. Mr. President, you see, I'm not insinuating that President Jonathan was weak. But an average political player, stakeholder would prefer Jonathan 10 times over Ashwaju. And if you put Ashwaju, put Obasanjo, put Jonathan, and you ask the stakeholders, the political stakeholders to choose one among the three, they will continue to repeat to pick Jonathan because perhaps he's more manageable. Let me use the language. You can't manage Obasanjo the way you manage Jonathan. And you can't manage Ashwaju the way you manage Jonathan. This is a person who went out and told the sitting president and everybody that represent that office that we have adopted a candidate. You remember the Senate president that he was the candidate of the party. And he told them that you are whining yourself. They are only joking. They conspire, everybody agree that, okay, let us say we are not going to do primary and let the president choose for us a candidate. All of them had agreed. When they got to him, he said, no, it is primary. And everybody considered he was never a president. And in politics, aspirants are usually the most stupid member of the party. Find out from any politician. Aspirants to any office, aspirants are the most stupid person in the party. They take every shit. They take every insult.
Okay.
Until they become whatever they want to become. But Ashwaju did not.
Stood his ground.
He stood his ground. It tells you the quantity or the contextual Ashwaju. They know him. That was why the opposition was so strong. Even he got to a state, the government started making policies that work hardship on his candidature after he had a match. You remember, a few days to the election in 2019, when our party was facing strong opposition in Atiku, we brought out money, call it whatever, trade money and all of that, that the president, that the vice president was sharing in Kogi and they crashed.
Traders money.
Yeah, traders money. And all these school feeding and all of that. And some other programs where they start pushing money into the public just to make everybody happy so that the election could favor us, because the opinion was already skewed against our party APC then. It is the president presiding. When it was not his election, he withdrew money from the system. They call it new Naira policy, Naira money swap or Naira swap. They took money. You couldn't access. They changed money initially. The allegation was that you stack some money to do election. Should that happen to a person who is running on the ticket of the government, a party in power? It tells you that this man, they didn't want him. Not because of anything, not because he was a criminal, not because the only issue they had with him was that he would not be, he's not manageable in political parlance. You have to join us to understand what we call that. He's not manageable. So
it's not a yes man.
It's not something like that. Mm-hmm. That he has the mind of his own. So the essence of all this long story is that yes, he knows the way around it. You go to you see that he spent the greater part of his campaign in the northwest. He relocated to Abuja.
In this case now, do you think the president-elect could have some sort of influence on who becomes
sure.
the Senate president?
Sure, but his influence...
Would he be allowed to influence the whole process?
He would do. He ordinarily would do, but it has a degree. It has limit. Every power has limit. He will want to place a candidate.
Because essentially, the next Senate president will be working with him directly.
Yeah. But let me tell you, in the national politics, there are big players. There are big players who are in the Senate. That ordinarily you say that these people should be godfather at home. Why are they in the Senate? These are people that if it is wet, they've gotten the wet. If it is contact, they've gotten the contact. If it is relationship with military, they've gotten it. Some people are institutions out there. Just like we have for Ashwaju here, we have some people who are institutions in the Senate that they are in the Senate because they just want to be there. These people who have their own contributions, they will add to the conversation. Ashwaju will get their opinion. If you don't do that, you run at cross purpose, and they fight you. And once they fight you, you are in trouble. The government will be in trouble. So you will not want. If you defeat them at the Senate, you may not defeat them in the bush.
All right, let's take a few comments from Facebook Live at about 88.9 FM. In case you have comments that you want to drop, you can still go ahead to do that. Ademule Olaide don't sing, right? Says Oji Uzo is dreaming. He only campaigned for himself throughout the campaign period. Okay. Morgan Dennis Oredo says, irrespective of any prevailing circumstance, balancing political offices between the two major faiths, courtesy, Christianity and Islam per time, is essentially incontestable in the Nigerian context. The story could have been different at the nomination of a Christian presidential ticket. Regional and religion arrangements cannot be jettisoned in our political system. Let us stop being hypocritical. Well, thank you very much, Orido.
Orido said he must have belonged to the school of thought that there must be Muslim president, Christian, or whatever it means. But I believe those who supported this ticket, the Muslim ticket, they won. That is not thinking. That's the fact. It then means that it is not the most popular position in Nigeria. That is the meaning, because there was a conscious and deliberate effort to stop it, and efforts were seriously deployed mobilization were made, very unusual mobilization to stop the ticket that bears similar fate, and it failed. It tells you that Nigerians, the greater Nigerians, don't believe in the faith, but there are some minority who are loud, perhaps louder,
The loudest in the room.
yeah, are pushing for this position. Nothing will happen. Nigeria will not burn. Nigeria will not break. I am a son of a Malam, but I believe that you don't have to bring this religion into this the national issue. Religion is not the issue that drives the economy of America. If you are a mullah and you can do it, they put you there, and they are doing better. In Britain, the mayor of London today is a Muslim, but he was not elected mayor because of his religion. And I can tell you now, as we speak, there will be 1 or 2 Nigerians who are at the airport trying to go to UK for greener pasture. It tells you that religion remains a tool the political people are using to get their way where ordinarily they don't deserve.
Now let's talk about the health of the All Progressives Congress. Interests are already clashing right now.
No doubt.
Regarding who becomes the next Senate president, especially. How do you think the party National Working Committee should handle this so that whoever it is at the end of the day, as you said earlier, APC has not taken a stand on the
zoning
issue,
arrangement.
on the zoning arrangement. What do you think APC should do, especially the leadership of the party, to ensure that the party is not drawn further apart at the end of the day?
Yeah, the first tenor is this. Thank God we have a president who's familiar with terrain. He should sample opinion from within the party stakeholders. You know, this zone is beyond what National Working Committee can do. We have some people at home who are bigger than party chairman. We must rely on the voice of stakeholders. If you rock boat by not listening to them, listening to media analysis and all of that, they will rock the government. Boko Haram is not an accident. Banditry is not an accident. When they start bombing pipelines in the Niger Delta, it can't be an accident. It is when these interests are not properly settled that you have circumstances that the government will be struggling, and the person who's supposed to intervene for you will collect money from you and fuel the boys in the bush or in the river on this icy to continue their effort. Then the Nigeria continue to suffer.
To make the country ungovernable.
Exactly. Most of these crises are deliberate.
Okay, well, this is still a running story. The National Working Committee of the party has said that after the Ramadan fast, it will take a position on this. Let's see how it goes. And hopefully the best decision will be made at the end of the day, in the interest of Nigerians. Thank you very much, Comrade Gani Mohammed, for coming on the program this morning.
It's my pleasure.
We still don't know why Barrister Ajishafe is not here. But I'll try find out after the program to be sure he's fine at least.
I'm sure it must be circumstance beyond his control.
And yes, my appreciation to Mr. Donald Ojogo for also being part of the program. Next week, Thursday, we will be here, God willing. I'm Olabisi Olani Yoluwasegun. Good morning, and thank you for listening.